Hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions. I just want to start by wishing everybody a happy holiday season. So every week we get some interesting people from the Microsoft channel to talk about interesting topics. The purpose of this is not meant to be a heavy sales session, just talking about topics that are interesting to all of us in the community. So today we've got a really interesting topic today. We talk a lot about ISV solutions or implementing, but we don't actually talk about customer usage. So I'm really excited to be able to invite Daniel Garcia from ClickLearn. Hi, Daniel.
Hey Richard, how's it going, man?
It's going very well. I can love in the background a lot of. I hear your party's happening tonight.
It's on. We're gonna have our entire staff in the office. Everybody brings their kids. This is gonna be full of toddlers running around wreaking havoc on our systems.
Nice, nice. Well, it's this time of year and having some small people around always makes it any better. And before
Yeah,
anybody who's watching the video, the little superhero in the background, that is a mannequin, not a real person that's very still. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
don't
yeah.
worry about that one. It's although it is a bit weird and freaky, but
The story on that one. Actually, it's a suit that we used. I think about Directions 19, maybe Directions EMEA. This was in Austria. We had a person with that suit running around, so it's the superhero that's spreading around user adoption.
nice.
So we still have it. We put it in the mannequin.
Nice, good. Well, I know what I'm going to be doing at Directions of Me in next year. That'll be good.
Yeah, Lyon, right?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That'll be a lot of fun. So, Daniel, let's start by tell the people about you, where you're from, what you're doing, and then a little bit about ClickLearn.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm the head of strategic alliances here at ClickLearn. So it's my job to work with all of the SIs and the ISVs in the ecosystem in helping them achieve successful implementations for their clients. And ClickLearn is a digital adoption solution. So in essence, what we do is we make it easy for the employees of these end clients to adopt the new solutions that they have. All in all, we're about around 80 to 90 people around the world. We have offices in Tampa for the US, of course, our headquarters here in Copenhagen, beautiful Copenhagen, offices in India, and then also a presence in Australia. Roughly, there's about 8,000 what we call authors. These are people that are using our recorder technology to create training documentation on behalf of all of their employees in their organizations. Um, that spans around 50 different countries, all in all, right?
Wow, very
Yeah.
cool. So we chatted a few times, and I it's an interesting one, right? So I've been involved a lot on the sales and delivery of ERP and CRM systems, but it's always towards the end of the project when budgets are running tight and the
Yeah.
customer's like, "Do we need to do any end user training?" And it's like, well, you kind of do. Like, you can put me in a Formula One car, but I won't go very fast. I'll crash the thing on the first corner, right? So tell me about your thoughts about end user training and what's the kind of the modern way of doing it rather than just throwing a handbook at somebody and expecting them to know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the last 2 years, that's in essence what I was working on. So heavily working with the SI partners in different implementations, from global multi-location ones to smaller SMBs where you might have 25 to 50 people in the organization. And what I saw a lot of, right, was a situation where you had the IT department owning training. This
Mhm,
is maybe sometimes it's never you don't think about this. You think, well, HR is going to handle everything. No, it's IT owns training of the implementation, and they're not training experts. The mentality typically is, they're all focused on the product itself,
mhm,
on the ERP implementation, and the thought is you build it and they will come, right? Um, and a lot of the resources goes to getting all of the bells and whistles that they want, and then there's this inflection point, this epiphany of like, or the oh moment. We're going live and we don't have any documentation, so they're scrambling around, try to figure out, what to do. Um, and so what you see typically is an older approach to a different set of environment that we have right now. So the approach is, we document. Uh, Typically, it's not end to end. It's very light documentation.
Mhm.
This train the trainer scenario and onboarding, which is great, um, but it's not very scalable. It doesn't
Mm.
last, right? So I'll give you one example. There was this huge use case that we had in South Africa, a huge bottling company. I mean, ginormous client. They spend 60% of their training on transportation.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
so so getting people into rooms, and now after
Oh,
COVID,
I
it's
see. I see what you mean. So I thought you meant the transportation part of the project, not
trans-
on.
transportation of
Right.
the individuals, because the
Right.
model is, it's an event you're
Yeah.
implementing. You bring people into a room and
Mm.
you give them hours of training, and typically the training is functional training,
Hmm.
right? So like navigation, and then when COVID happened, it's like, okay, well, now it's online, but you're still bringing lots of people onto a setting, into a live training. Now you have to worry about them being distracted, you know. And then what do you do? Well, you record hours of onboarding sessions, and
Which
that's
nobody's
there.
going to watch ever.
who,
I mean,
who the
you just
heck is
don't.
going to go
No.
back
No.
and watch 3 hours when I'm an employee and I'm trying to figure out how to create an invoice, how to ship a product, right? So there's a very big disconnect between the approach to training, which, number one, it's an afterthought.
Mm.
Number two, it's not done in a scalable fashion. And number three, it really pushes learning onto the employees, where you have to go and switch through many different videos and functional training, as opposed to micro, bite size, relevant, helpful training that they need in order to be proficient. And I think that's what we see a lot of in the market.
Yeah, I think so. You've kind of got that kicker. The example you used in a second ago. That's kind of like a kickoff training, right?
Yeah.
Where new system, nobody knows what's going on, new training. But I always think you've got other sort of points on the user journey. Things like I need to do an obvious one is like a end of year report that I need to run. I only ever run that once a year. There's no
Yeah.
way I'm gonna remember how to do that, right? So
Yeah.
how do I do that? And then if they roll out some new functionality or a new process or whatever it might be, you're not gonna get everybody together to do that. Normally, it's like, "Oh, work it out," or we were talking about this the other day. I worked at some pretty big companies. I worked at Microsoft, and there was, in theory, some training that you could get. You could take a day out of your life and go to a
Uh,
place and do some training on how to use Microsoft technology, but nobody really ever did. But apart from that, you were literally left on your own. Like, you work it out. So you'd be
yeah.
asking co-workers or whatever. Um, so I think your solution just really helps with that kind of those small, that constant. How do I do this? And
And
an easier way of doing it.
and Richard, to go back to what you said, there's real life consequences
Mm,
to scenarios like that, right? Like that one thing that you don't do often, but you still have to do. And if you have to rely on colleagues which are busy, they can help you, and you're
mm,
trying it on your own. I'll give you one example. In my past life, I was in the sales function, and I did a big sale. I think it was like $20,000 sale, and I was so eager to ship the product. I did, and I selected in the CRM
mm.
the address at an account level instead of at a primary level. I ended up shipping the product to the wrong location, right? So,
And this wasn't like a floppy disk, right? This was a
no, this is
significant
a
thing.
20K, a BDCR solution,
Mm,
where the client is going to spin up the whole environment in a case
yeah.
of an emergency, and it's shipped to the wrong location. So what we try to do is we try to preach. going away from event driven training,
mm,
right? This notion of just onboarding. Learning is an ongoing, it's a journey, it's not an event. And so what we try to do is we provide tools for the enterprises and the SMBs to be able to keep documentation current and very easily give it to the employees inside of the business system, right? So in your particular case, right, Richard is there and he doesn't know how to perform a certain end of year report. You don't have to ask anybody.
yeah.
You can feed yourself. You can activate a virtual assistant, which is populated by the same documentation that you did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I just think it's really powerful, and especially when and asking a colleague is one thing, but asking a colleague when nobody works in an office anymore. I mean, it's trying to get somebody on Teams or trying to get hold of somebody. Everybody's busy. Everybody's on calls all the time.
Yeah,
It was much easier back in the day almost, but yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't explained, in detail how the solution worked, but in
oh
essence,
please do, please do.
yeah, so what ClickLearn does, maybe this puts some context into it. It's a system recorder that will capture all of the process inside of Dynamics, or even if your business process goes beyond into some other integrated ISV.
Yeah.
Now that you have captured it, it automatically generates the written documentation, training videos, and all of that knowledge sits in a learning portal, which then points inside of the business system so that you can be self reliant, right? You don't need to call somebody on Teams. You don't need to send a help desk ticket.
Mm,
And the result of having this learning embedded in the flow of work is measurable. So I'll give you a use case. There's a company, it's a construction company called Multiplex. They implement the system. They were able to reduce help desk tickets by 33% the first month, and they exceeded 50%. Now think about, I'm an SI, and I'm thinking about my clients, right? Imagine going to your client and saying, "Hey, listen, I'll be able to reduce your support queries by 50% after the implementation because you'll be able to give people the means to be self-sufficient." And the thing is that in order to make all that happen, it's plug and play. There's no integration. Anybody can do it. Any BA within the IT department can do it. So now the mentality is not event driven, because after the implementation, the money dries out. You
mm,
can't be doing huge onboarding sessions every quarter to deal with the new employees that you have or some changes to your system environment.
mm,
So with our solution, once you build the training, then you 5% of your time is spent on just doing maintenance on the
mm.
documentation. So this notion of evergreen training year round as opposed to event driven.
I think it's really powerful, and the ROI on that just instantly stacks up. I mean, cutting help desk tickets by 50%. That it doesn't really matter what you're charging at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and
The ROI on that is enormous, and more than ROI actually, the customer, the end user experience is going to be so much better. We've all
yeah,
been there, how frustrating it is not being able to. I need to be able to work out how to do this or run that report. It's really important. I need to get it out in the next hour, and I can't work out how to do it. Just getting rid of all of that frustration. Just, I mean, our unfortunately in business everything always comes down to money, right? But just from an experience perspective for the end user, that's really powerful.
yeah. I think we've all been like you said, right? From an empathy point of view,
Mm,
we've all experienced that. We know what it's like. But I mean, if you think about it, learning the business system is the first opportunity
mm,
for the SI partner to give ROI to the client, speed to
absolutely.
value. It's the very first step. And then once they know the system, then there's automation that is given back to the employee in the way of all of the functionality that the system can offer,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Look, I think with business solutions, um, you know, generally people in businesses, they're smart people. Normally people don't go out of their way to employ, dumb
Yeah.
people, right? And the
Nobody
fact
it doesn't intentionally, at least.
no, no. Although my boss might be listening to this and might have a different opinion on that. But you know, you've got people who they can come to your house and they used to be able to just turn on the TV, right? I can go to your house, turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Now you've probably got 15 different remotes, and it has to go in this order, and everything has been made more complex. So I think your solution being able to get rid of a lot of that friction, a lot of
Yeah.
that end user, just feeling dissatisfied all the time with the system. It might be the best system in the world, but if nobody can use it, it's not going to be a good
Yeah.
system, right? So
We
I think
I mean,
your approach is really good.
we're asking a lot of employees, if you think about it, these days, right?
Yeah,
We're in an environment where I think it was like 78% of Fortune 500 companies have power apps, right?
yeah,
This low code, no code, all of the organizations are leveraging this as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And employees are bombarded not only with upgrades as we migrate to the cloud, right? These
Mm,
upgrades are happening. I see it myself. I turn on my CRM, and Dynamics is like, look, hey, this looks different, right?
mm,
So it's a big ask of people to stay on top of all of the different changes that is happening.
mm.
And if you can help them transition, right? We talked about digital transformation, but transformation cannot happen if they don't adopt the solution. At the end,
Absolutely.
you're just stacking technology. You're not really transforming the organization. So it does go back to people.
Mm. Very cool, man. So,
Yeah.
have you got other examples where sort of that stand out to you where customers have done things and maybe illustrative of the types of stuff that
Yeah.
you're able to do?
I mean, I think, when there's a case, it's a CRM case in the States. Uh, it's called a census. So, they help a lot of people in the US with planning for retirement and so forth. And if you listen to um, the CRM owner, he talks about this aggressive plan that they had to roll out this technology, right?
Mhm,
So, very aggressive roadmap. Um, and he goes and he takes a pause and he goes like, and nobody's talking about training.
mm,
you know, there's absolutely nobody in the room is talking about how we're going to get people to learn these new systems. And then so he has to make a decision. Do I either staff up, right? Do I need to hire at least three more people? And to give you a size, I think his team is roughly around 15
mhm,
in his department that are directly related to the CRM, and it's about roughly 2,000 employees
mm,
using the CRM. And he had to make the decision: am I going to staff up and hire about three additional people in order to be able to deliver the type of training that's necessary to adopt, or do we find a new way? And so we were able to partner with them. And so what they're doing now is they're using ClickLearn to build the baseline training and keep it maintained over time. And they, in essence, have office hours. And the office hours pretty much is focused on helping people teach how to use the ClickLearn learning portals, teach them how to reach out for the solution inside of their CRM.
mhm,
Um, Removing all of the basic concerns that they have, delegated to the learning portal, and then they focus on more complex requests. So that's one user case. Another one that I can think of, it was actually in the UK. They implemented this policy where they go, look, before you send me a request or some help, you need to go to the learning portal and find the answer. If you don't find the answer, then that gives you the right to submit a support query, right? The support team uses the ClickLearn recorder to record the answer, put it into the learning portal, and for the end user, the experience is seamless because they're going to the same location, and all of a
yeah,
sudden, in a matter of seconds, their answer pops up in the learning portal. And so with every single request, the breadth of knowledge that the learning portal has continues to grow. And so that's when you see the support queries go down, right? It's
And that's incredible. I can just, and it's frustrating that more people aren't using your stuff, because honestly, man, I just think trying to do it the train way, like you said at the beginning, or you know, even worse, sending somebody a Word document with, this, you know, go to these 5 different things. It's just not. It's just not the
yeah.
way people want to do it anymore.
And
So
Richard, I got to tell you, it's sometimes is it's scary to see. You think that large corporations, I have seen it in small to huge corporations where things are still being made manually. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
the time that it takes you to use Snagit and Microsoft Word to piece
yeah,
together
yeah,
a documentation, you would have already created a full learning portal in ClickLearn.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so all of the deliverables that comes out of that, the interactive videos, the simulations, um, it's off of the same single event.
Well, hopefully some people have been listening to this and think that, you know what, we should be doing this, and I highly encourage you to do it. So, if you have been watching this or listening to this, and if you're listening, I'll put these in the show notes as well. Feel free to email. We've got his Daniel's email address there, so dga@clicklearn.com, or go on to clicklearn.com itself and have a look around there. And then the third option being going onto LinkedIn and give them a follow on LinkedIn and find out more information. Daniel, I really appreciate your time. It's been great catching up with you. I do think this is a really interesting topic that, in all truth, has probably been put to the end of the project and therefore people kind of forget about. So hopefully this will raise it up a little bit. And I want to wish you and all the ClickLearn team and all their families a happy holiday season. And for everybody that's listening, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it sparked a thought that you can take back into your businesses. And I hope you all have a great week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you, Darren.